Up everyone, it is David. Welcome back to Gem Mint MTG. Today is going to be a fun day. We are going to do another in-depth market review of real-world sales of graded cards in the open market. Try to do these about once a month, and this is going to be for March of 2023. What we're going to do, for anyone who hasn't seen one of these videos yet, is we're going to take real-world sales of graded cards on the open market, analyze those sales, and take a look at how the grade affected the price of that card, the selling price of that card. So we'll do a comparison of that card selling price for the graded card compared to how much that card costs in near mint condition, and try to establish what kind of premium was paid for that card. Before we get into that, I always seem to get questions either in the comments or emails about how I come up with these numbers. There might be a little bit of confusion as to what how the multiple is calculated, what the grading premium is. So for anybody who's not aware, the way that I do these calculations is I take the near mint average price of the card. I'll take a look at a few different retailers. I used to use Card Kingdom, but Card Kingdom's like completely fallen off a cliff and they don't have very good inventory. Anyway, but I'll check TCG Player, I'll check eBay, I'll check other online retailers, and I'll get a near mint average price for that card. And then on top of that, there's a standard fee that's applied to all the cards to account for the cost of grading. It was $35. I bumped it up to $50 because that was basically the going rate for grading a card, especially in like 2022. But I've since reduced that back to $35 because the cost of grading has come down. And now if you do like a bulk or standard submission, you can get your cards graded for about $35 a card. When you consider the cost of shipping and insurance, it's about $35 a card. So what you'll see is the near mint average price of the card plus $35. It's $35 no matter what the card is. And then that gives you the baseline that I use to establish, what kind of premium is paid for that card. So if the card's worth $100 and you pay $35 to grade it, you kind of like your cost basis for that card is $135. So if the card sold for say $270, you'd be exactly 2 times the price of that near mint card plus the grading fee. Okay, just wanted to get that out of the way for anybody who's not aware. All right, let's get into this first card. Okay, getting things started off here with one of the channel favorites, Dream Halls from Stronghold. A really nice example of this card. This is a BGS 9 Quad Plus Plus. You can see it has 9 at least on all of the subgrades. The corners and the edges are 9.5, so that gives it we kind of call that a quad plus plus. Sold for $70.60. Near mint, they're running about $26. So when you add that $35 for the cost of grading, it gives you a multiple of 1.16. So about a 16% premium for that card. That's pretty much standard for a BGS 9. Generally, you get 10, 25%, maybe 50. If it's a really crazy card, you might get 2, but this is pretty standard run of the mill. But I think that it's awesome to see cards like Dream Halls really capturing the full cost of grading, getting a premium on top of that. And I think cards like this, I've said it a million times on this channel, I love cards from the Silver Age. I love Dream Halls. I think it's just one of those wacky, unique cards that has an awesome place in Magic, and it's great to see it getting some love. Speaking of classic cards, let's hop right to the next one, Shivan Dragon from Revised. We've talked about this card a lot too. This card always seems to just get a crazy premium even when it's from Revised. So this is a 9 Quad Plus Shivan Dragon from Revised. It sold for $125. Another thing, I couldn't believe the near mint cost of these. I remember buying these for like literally a couple dollars, $2-3, like in the last few years. And now I'd go on TCG Player, filter for near mint, check out Shivan Dragon Revised. You're paying $25 at least for that card. So with the grading fee, gives you a multiple of over 2x. Absolutely awesome. Huge premium for this Shivan Dragon from Revised. I absolutely love classic cards like this, even if they're not on the reserve list. Shivan Dragon is just such an iconic card that it just always seems to get a really nice premium. A couple other things I want to say about this card. I think stuff like this is a great way to get into graded collecting. There's always going to be a market for mint condition Shivan Dragons with that original artwork, and the cost of this card is less than the price of a set booster box or something like that. You can get into cards like this at a pretty low cost, relatively speaking, and I think this kind of card is always going to have a following, always going to have a market for stuff like this, and I think the future is really bright for cards from Revised in particular. So yeah, awesome card. This is a good time to say, if you're watching this video and you've seen my channel and you appreciate the content that I'm giving you, I'd appreciate your subscription to this channel. I'm still trying to grow this channel on YouTube because there's not a lot of people talking about graded Magic cards on a regular basis, and I'm trying to change that and kind of shed light on this on the world of graded cards and bring it to more people. So if you appreciate content like this, hit that subscribe button and join in the fun, because we're going to be doing this kind of stuff all the time here on Gem Mint MTG. All right, let's hop to the next one. One of my favorite artworks in Magic, Island from Unlimited. This one is it looks like this one is called V2. I believe this is the V1 artwork. But nevertheless, this 9.5 Unlimited Island sold for $133. Near mint, they're about $6. Most of the cost basis of this card is in the grading fee. Gives you a multiple of 3.24. Really nice premium for an island. I've talked about it before on this channel that generally the lower the value of the card, you can get higher premiums for that card, because just like the effect on the wallet is a lot lower. You'll see as we scale up, we're going in numeric order of the selling price, by the way. Like, we're going from cheapest cards to most expensive cards. You'll kind of notice as you get more and more expensive, the multiples, the premiums start to decrease, just because the effect on the wallet is real. But yeah, even cards like this, common basic lands from Unlimited in really, really good condition, high grade, fetch absolutely awesome premiums, and I think this is just a great example of that. Moving on to the big beastie, Force of Nature, another revised card, 9.5 condition, sold for $150. Near mint, it's a $3 card. Once again, your cost basis is pretty much in the cost of grading this card. It gives you a multiple of 3.95. Absolutely fantastic. Once you start getting into that 4x territory, that is huge premiums. This is a lower value card, so you do have kind of like that, it's a little more generous on the premium because the cost basis is a lot lower. But I think this is just another example, like the Shivan Dragon. This Douglas Schuler artwork, A Force of Nature, this is like the ultimate Timmy card. Everybody knows this card. Everybody wanted to play this card in 93, 94, 95. This is just an absolutely classic card, and it's awesome to see even cards from Revised in 9.5 condition fetching huge price tags, relatively speaking. It wasn't that long ago that grading a card like this was shunned. It was dumb. There's no point. There's no value. I've always disagreed with that. I think cards like this are awesome. I think that whoever got this card got a great deal. I see stuff like this aging really well. I love the Force of Nature. Awesome sale. Moving on, a lot of revised today. PSA 10, Demonic Tutor, sold for $210. Near mint, they're about $41. Multiple 2.76, almost 3x for a PSA 10. PSA 10, BGS 9.5, there's always kind of comparisons drawn to those, and I do believe that they do generally fetch about the same premium. You'll get 2 to 3x for most PSA 10 BGS 9.5s. That's generally the range that you get, and then you get those outliers that are over 4 or under 2. Also, we'll see a couple examples of that. But awesome card from Revised, super iconic. Everything that I said about Shivan and Forces of Nature, you could say about this card too. So we won't say it again and move on to Island from Beta, BGS 9.5 Gem Mint. My favorite Island artwork. Absolutely beautiful card. Sold for $225.99. Near mint, these islands are getting expensive. $37.50, multiple 3.12. That's kind of what you would expect. 2 to 3x. It's in that range. And this is, once again, you don't have to have super rare cards. You don't have to have, like literally rares. Even commons, uncommons, basic lands, all this stuff is fetching really, really nice premiums. We are not seeing softness in the market for these cards. I've been tracking cards like this for years now, and we're still getting really, really good premiums. And I personally think that stuff like these beta gem mints, they're just going to go up. I see cards like Island. Eventually, this is going to be a $250 card, $300 card. The scarcity is real. It's extremely hard to find these in good condition, and people are starting to realize, just how much collectors appreciate even basic lands. Absolutely awesome. Okay, this is a really cool one from one of my favorite sets, Urza's Legacy, the set that first introduced foils to Magic the Gathering. This is that old border shooting star foil, the original one, none of that Judge promo crap. This is the real deal. This is a Deranged Hermit foil that sold for $400. This is in 9 condition, 9.5 centering and surface, 9 on the edges, 8.5 corners. I looked at this card. I feel like the corners deserved better than 8.5. I mean, you can see it from the front. I don't have an image of the back, but it's pretty good. And I felt like this card was undergraded on the corners. I feel like these are 9 or 9.5 corners. If I was the person who graded this card, I would have been pretty disappointed because you would have had a quad or possibly even a 9.5. But I digress. Near mint, they're about $275. Grading fee multiple to 1.29, so a 29% premium for this card. Absolutely fantastic. These cards have come up in value a lot over the last year or two. These reserve list foils from Urza's Legacy, just absolutely beautiful. When you see these old border foils and you hold them in your hand, the new foils, they're just not the same. All right, this is a big one. Sliver Queen from Urza Saga. This card is like my nemesis. I've tried grading this card 4 times. I've never been able to get a 9. Every single one I've graded has come out 8 or 8.5. This is an extremely popular card. These are hard to find in really good condition because they've just always been so popular to play with. And this BGS 9 Quad Plus sold for about $600. Near mint, they're $340. Adjust for the grading fee, gives you a 60% premium for that card. Really, really nice premium for a 9, especially considering the card is a $340 card. This is a really nice premium. And I think that Sliver Queen is just one of those cards that it's hard to find in good condition. It's so popular. It has such amazing Ron Spencer artwork. It's just so iconic that this card always fetches a really, really, really good premium. And I personally think that Sliver Queen is one of those cards from the Silver Age, like Time Spiral, Gaia's Cradle. There's a small list of cards from that era of Magic that I think are going to age extremely well. And I think the Sliver Queen is definitely one of them. Let's move back in time to Arabian Nights. Ali from Cairo, BGS 9 Quad Plus. You can see 9 on all the subgrades, at 9.5 on the edges. And this card sold for $760. Near mint, they're about $575. Multiple 25% premium for that card. Kind of standard, run-of-the-mill, 25% premium for a 9 is exactly what you would expect. We've seen it a lot already. We'll see it more. Not too much to say about the Ali from Cairo. People love their Arabian cards. The near mint cost on this card has come up a lot over the last couple of years. I remember, this was like $100, $200 card for the longest time. And then, it crept up to $300, $400. But even through the last year of Magic 30 and the Fallout and all this stuff, there's a lot of these vintage cards, reserve list cards that are only going up. And this is one of them. People love their Arabian cards, and finding Arabian cards in truly mint condition is pretty much impossible these days unless you're buying from like a high-end collector. You're really not going to find cards like this on the open market. It was hard to find, near mint examples of this card. But love the Ollie from Cairo. Really cool card. Always wanted one. Don't have one. Hopefully one day I'll get one. Drop of Honey. So I got a few things to say about this one. This is another Arabian card. Sold for $860. My beef with this is the near mint cost of this card being $800. That's what people are asking for. I'm not really seeing them move at that price. I feel like that near mint asking price is a little bit high. I personally, just my opinion, I feel like this is a $600 or $700 card. I don't think it's an $800 card. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't have that wow factor for me, like a card like Ali from Cairo. Like when I think Arabian Nights, I don't think of Drop of Honey. It's a cool card, but I just think the near mint asking prices on these are a little bit high. And if that price came down a little bit, the multiple would be a little bit higher, and that would make a little bit more sense to me. Because look at cards like Diamond Valley from Arabian Nights. I mean, this to me, having a similar near mint asking price, I value Diamond Valley way, way, way over Drop of Honey. Any day of the week, I would take a Diamond Valley over a Drop of Honey. So, but this Diamond Valley sold for $902. Once again, not really much of a premium for this card. I think that just like the Drop of Honey, the near mint asking prices on these have just gotten really, really high. I mean, we're approaching $1,000 for a Diamond Valley, and once you get into that, once you start getting toward $1,000, that's a lot of money, and there's a lot of stuff that you can buy for $1,000, and I just don't see a lot of movement on cards like this in near mint condition for well over $800. Part of it, I think, is that most of the people who are, maybe not most, but a good chunk of the people who are going to be buying Diamond Valley in truly near mint condition, they might want to grade that card. And I just don't think there's a lot of confidence that any of the near mint cards on the market would grade out well. If you have a Diamond Valley and it's in absolutely pristine condition, you've probably thought of grading it yourself already. And I just don't see a lot of good examples on the market that I think are worth the near mint asking price. Just like Drop of Honey, I think this is probably like a $700 card, $600 card, something like that. I just think that asking almost $850 for a card that's probably not a mint condition card, it probably looks light played, is just a little bit high. Underground Sea from Revised PSA 10 sold for $1,400. Do you remember in the last year when just a near mint Underground Sea raw was approaching $1,400? I remember Card Kingdom had Underground Seas for like $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 at the very peak. But oh, how the mighty have fallen down to $650 on average for a near mint Underground Sea, which I think makes much more sense. Those prices, they got way too high, way too fast. It wasn't sustainable. But yeah, selling for $1,400 gives you a multiple of 2x. Dual lands, even in PSA 10 condition, they just never command a really strong premium. We'll see another example of that coming up here. But if you've been watching this channel for a while, whenever a dual land gets sold in 9 condition, it's like a 10% premium, 20% premium, something like that. It's never anything crazy. The 9.5s might get 2x. Generally, they don't. The PSA 10s, 2, but you're generally not getting 3x or anything like that for dual lands in particular. Shivan Dragons, Vesuvian Doppelgangers from Revised, that's a whole other story. Those will get crazy premiums. But the dual lands just kind of seem to not have that wow factor for people for graded cards. Okay, let's talk about a very controversial card. I saw it, but I saw it. I wanted to cover it, even though I'm not a fan of this. This is a Time Walk from the 30th anniversary edition. A BGS 9.5 sold for $1,611.70. This is a 9.5 quad. Near mint, average, who knows? Multiple, who cares? I don't believe any of the prices that these cards are selling for. I don't believe that there are. I just honestly don't believe that there are legit. There's not enough legit price data to really establish a price for these cards. I feel like there's been a lot of shady stuff going on. I don't know if Wizards just turned on like the good card printer, because all of these seem to be grading out to 9.5, 9.5 quads, quad pluses. It's crazy. Like every single one of these that I see come up on the market is a 9.5 or better. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know why these are grading out so well. I don't know if there's anything shady about that part of it. It just seems like every single one of these that comes onto the market is in an insanely good grade, and there's a lot of suspicious bidding. There's been big price swings, and with the second wave of like printing or distribution coming, with more of these coming onto the market, I'm already not a fan of these cards. I had my whole rant video, but I wouldn't touch these with a 10-foot pole. I absolutely hate them. I don't like this card. I just wanted to cover it and talk about it. Suchi. Let's move on. Let's get back to something cool like Suchi from Antiquities. This is a BGS 10. No near mint, average, no multiple calculation here. Although if you do the math, it's about 50x. But I just thought it was really cool to see Suchi in BGS 10 actually sell. Sold for $6,000. Amazing. This card is like an $80 card, something like that. 80, 90 bucks for a near mint Sushi. And it's just crazy that you can take a, $80 card and get $6,000 out of it if it grades out to a 10. Absolutely awesome. Very, very rare though. I mean, like most cards, the BGS 10 population is usually 0, but you might have 1 or 2. So like there's literally like 1 or 2 of these that exist in the whole world. So generally you get what somebody will pay for it. So let's move on to another dual land. So here is another example of a dual land. This is a tropical island from Beta that sold for $6,288. There's an 8.5 on the market for $5,500. So I felt like that was a good example of what a near mint card costs. Because just like the Arabian cards, these are pretty much impossible to find a truly near mint dual land from Beta on the open market that really looks clean is pretty much impossible to find. But 8.5 for $5,500. If you use that as the cost basis, gives you a multiple of 1.14. So a couple things here. Once again, you're getting into extremely expensive cards. When your baseline card is $5,000, you're not going to see 2-3x for a card like this. Nobody's going to pay $10,000-$15,000 for Beta dual land. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. And so you start to like that multiple starts to retrace the more expensive the card gets. And also, it's a dual land. Like I've talked about, as popular as dual lands are and as cool as they are, they just don't seem to fetch the kind of premiums that a lot of other iconic cards do from the same set. Like I said, a Shivan Dragon from Beta would probably have a much higher multiple than a dual land or something like that, or a Vesuvian Doppelganger, or a Piece of Power, or something like that. But really cool sale, absolutely beautiful card. All right, and our last card of the day. Speaking of power, this is an unlimited Mox Ruby, then 9.5 condition. This photo was taken with an actual potato. I don't understand how you could sell a card like this and not have high resolution scans of it. You're asking $10,000. Please take better pictures of your cards. Make it a nice presentation. You will get more attention on that card. You will get more people who are confident in purchasing that card. But anyway, sold for $8,655. Near mint, they're about $5,000. Once again, once you start getting into power cards, whether it's unlimited, beta, whatever, it's extremely hard to find cards like this that are actually on the open market in near mint condition, that you can look at the card and you kind of verify yourself the condition that it's in. But I'd say about $5,000 is a reasonable estimate. Gives you multiple 1.72. So a decent premium, 2x on a $5,000 card is rare and extremely good. Getting a 72% premium for your Mox Ruby in 9.5 condition, I think is actually pretty good, especially in today's environment. Another thing that I, maybe should have mentioned earlier, but it's not a very good time to be spending extremely large sums of money on, collectible cards that don't pay dividends. They don't pay interest. They tie up your cash. You have to pay fees when you buy them. You have to pay fees when you sell them. You have to pay taxes when you sell them. Stuff like this is, as much as we love it, and as, you can call it an investment, whatever. That's a whole other can of worms. But once you start getting into really high-end cards like this, you're talking about a different clientele, people with $10,000 of expendable money to spend on a piece of cardboard that may or may not ever increase in value. It's speculative. It doesn't pay dividends or interest. Now's just not the right time to be buying cards like this. So seeing a card like this sell for almost $9,000 still, I think is actually a pretty healthy sale. I think in a really strong economy, in a really good place in, the economy, the world, the country, whatever, I think this probably is more like a $10,000 to $12,000 card. And I think that this actually was a pretty good deal for a card like this. I wish I could have bought it. I have a Mox Ruby. It is a 6.5. It's well loved, but I wish I had a 9.5 Ruby, and at another time and place, I might be in the market for a card like this, but right now it's a tough time for me and a lot of other people, and so I think that seeing a card like this almost sell for $9,000 is still actually pretty awesome. And that's it. That's the end of the video for today. I really appreciate you sticking with me and going through this journey of graded cards. It's always awesome to do a really in-depth review of the market. I love doing these videos. I hope you appreciated the content. Again, if you're not a subscriber here already, hit that subscribe button. It's a great way to support the channel with just a click of a button. Overall, closing thoughts. this market is healthy. There's not a lot of retracement. There's not a lot of, prices collapsing. There's been some softness on some of the near mint asking prices for cards. Especially cards like honestly like Dream Halls. At the peak, Dream Halls was getting like $50 a card, but there's a lot of Dream Halls on the market, and they're selling for like $25-30. But the graded copies have been pretty much flat, and some of the high end, the dual lands really fell off after Magic 30. That's something that I felt like was bound to happen. The prices were already getting way high, and the near mint price on those have come down quite a bit. But once again, the graded cards still selling for really good prices. And even the high end cards, once we started getting into those really expensive cards, I feel like the market is healthy. There's been some retracement in some areas, but honestly, compared to a lot of the stocks and indices and in the actual, like financial world economy, a lot of that stuff has come down a lot more than any Magic card that I have. So it's kind of good to see that, and I think it's a good sign for the future. Eventually we are going to get out of this. The economy will turn around. Hopefully it's sooner than later. I know that I'm looking forward to that, but But yeah, for now, things are pretty good, and I'm really happy to bring you information like this. I hope you had a great weekend. I'm going to get back to mine. Till next time, thanks. Have a great one.